Next one comes from XP50 Player in response to Fantom version 2.1, making the offer intriguing. A video I did in December 2021. And XP50 writes, the Gen Fantom is never going to be a traditional workstation with audio tracks. There just isn't the internal storage for that. The Fantom structure doesn't include a separate song mode. Sadly, the USB audio interface is not class compliant either, so attached mobile devices are out for digital audio transfer. Still waiting for my ultimate do-it-all keyboard and ready for what comes next from Korg. And we've all been waiting for what comes next from Korg, haven't we? The rumour mill is hotting up, but still nothing definite from anybody. There must be a reason why Roland keep pumping out equipment that is not class compliant. Whatever that reason is, I don't really understand it. But I suspect it comes down into one of two camps. This is my theory on this anyway. They have developed a pattern and want to keep reusing it as opposed to re-engineering it. They have some feature that is not supported by the class compliant framework. And I think the reason why Roland will not make their devices class compliant is number two, but it could just be laziness for number one, or it could be a combination of both of those. They have a pattern, it works, but when they try to re-engineer it to be class compliant, they find that some of their features either have to be completely rewritten, and that means that the software that's inside the machine is different. And as I said, I suspect it's a bit of both. No one is talking about what the issues are. As you watch the channel, you know my concerns about things like Catalina, Roland effectively rendering older machines useless if you've updated to Catalina. Now, I've just made the leap with this, and I've put it up to Monterey. And the reason I've done that is because I'm starting to have problems with Apple updates on the Catalina front. So I've basically jumped Big Sur and gone straight to Monterey, and it was a massive update for this machine. It was a massive update. It ran overnight basically. But effectively with Catalina, they've ended support for 32-bit devices, and that means that everybody's running a 32-bit device with a 32-bit driver has basically been left high and dry after Catalina. I'm also waiting for the next big thing from Korg, as is everybody else. What I've noticed over the last X number of months is that Korg have started rolling out some fairly heavyweight keyboard aficionados, the Rick Wakemans, and some other fairly big, well-known, I think Jordan Rudess was rolled out on one of them, to sort of start promoting Nautilus, because I just don't think Korg are getting the buy-in with Nautilus that they thought they were going to get. Its cost point is wrong, its functionality is wrong, it doesn't really stack up as a replacement to Kronos. Initially you couldn't port your patches from Kronos to Nautilus, which stopped a whole bunch of Kronos, heavy Kronos users moving off the platform, because if they can't port their patches, they might as well stay where they are, because they've got to recreate the patches on Nautilus. So I think there's been a number of reasons why Nautilus really hasn't had the uptake it really should have had. And I think when Korg marketed it, they've kind of marketed it into the wrong segment of the market in terms of what it can deliver. And the problem now that Nautilus has is that kind of the Yamaha camp have two keyboards, a junior and senior keyboard, which pretty much share a sound architecture and sound landscape. Roland have just done the same with the Fantom and the Fantom-O. They have a junior and senior keyboard that again share landscape in terms of sound architecture and sound landscape, and Kronos and Nautilus don't. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. Next one comes from Hal. In response to my overview of the Korg Poly 61, I've mentioned this so many times, I found none of these 3 videos feature the synth is really good at which is raw but super rich analog pad strings and classy brass leads. You can make some really nice strings on this. I'm running mine through a Strymon Night Ski, and it's absolutely huge blader on the vibes. In fact, I think the Poly 61, or one of the Poly 61, I think was used as part of that. Although I think a lot of it was done on the synclavier. This is where I started to get sort of the amount of comments I've had about the Poly 61. I'm beginning to think that something was wrong with the tuning and the setup of the machine that was lent to me. I have had numerous people tell me that these pads and strings and brasses were so sumptuous. But in the short term I had the machine, I just wasn't hearing it. Now, I've said that this was not my keyboard, so I have to be respectful when somebody lends me a keyboard, that I don't destroy stuff they already have on that particular keyboard, or I don't do something that renders the keyboard useless. So, you know, in terms of if you get a keyboard and it's lent to you and you're allowed to change all the parameters, fine. But Richard really didn't want me fiddling with things because his goal was to sell it and he didn't want me to break it. So for that purpose, I didn't really do a lot of tone manipulation on the Poly 61 for that particular reason. I didn't want to break anything, but I'm also very conscious that so many of you have described this luscious sounding machine that I didn't hear. Now that could be because people have pointed out to me that, you know, you had it in mono mode, not poly mode, and you were doing this, you were doing that, which is probably a degree of misunderstanding on my part about how the machine needed to be set up, purely because I didn't have enough time with it. But so many of you have said what this synth was capable of, and I am sorry that I seem to have misrepresented this synth. So it is an apology. Every time I talk about this, it is an apology. There's not a lot more I can say.